Hi, I'm Samuel or Pretty Him on social media, and today I'm making my first video in English. Yay! Apologies if you can't understand what I'm saying since I'm still practicing, but if I sound like I'm just mumbling to you, you will have subtitles to read. Y también en español. Well, basically I was watching a Lavender Town video on the same topic, so I'm stealing this directly from her, and I sincerely started wondering if I could draw realism now, since it's something that I always struggled with. And as I say that in my last video, I'm going to an art college to study visual arts, specifically drawing, so in my classes I draw lots of anatomy studies and stuff. Though, if you take a look at my drawings, I always kinda do it cartoonish, even if I try to make them look kinda realistic or serious looking. But this year I started practicing with painting instead of drawing, since in my drawing my expressiveness with the line is pretty harsh and cartoonish, so it's difficult for me to go in another way that's not that way. And here are two practices I made in January, and honestly I was kinda impressed with myself since I never really reached this kind of semi-realism before. And yeah, here I took a sketch that I made some weeks ago where I was feeling really pretty with my hair tied up, so I decided to sketch myself like that quickly. When I had the idea for this video, I thought it would be cool to reuse that sketch and finish it since I ended up really liking that initial stage. Here I'm pretty sure you can see what I meant when I said that my lines are kinda harsh and cartoonish. Lately I'm trying to make modulated lines, like those lines that go from really thin to thick. But in this part of the line work, I didn't like how exaggerated the hairlines were compared to the rest of the line art that I already did, so I made it less thick later, so it doesn't look too out of place. It's really hard to make modulated lines, at least for me. It's something that I have been practicing in the drawing classes from my college, but for some reason it's really hard for me to do them naturally, and honestly it's something that I would like to reach someday. I'm still not really sure how I want those lines to be exactly. Like, I do want them to be to have that thin to thick thing to be visible but for some reason I'm not fully convinced of how it looks when I do it. So I'm still trying to find that balance. Sometimes it's a matter of what brush you use, or it's just your hand not letting you do those proper lines, but either way I still have to practice. I ended up liking how the lines look in this piece in particular, so whatever. I really enjoy drawing my own features, like my little beard and mustache, my eyelash, no, eyelash, my eyebrows, um, my barely visible freckles, and my cool eye dots. That funny story, I got them because a little kid shoved a broomstick up my eye, so yeah. It doesn't really affect my sight, but it made my eye look cooler, so I don't care.
MC Goose Pig, Butcher's Herb, fucking Julia. Eat your shit flavored rectum, you fucking dumb bitch. Bitches get slighted to sex, tortured to death, my penis is erect when it's getting blood drenched. Feasting on the innards and the cold wet anal flesh. Inflicting rectal carnage with cranial deformation. It's the blind desecration. A self-made abortion is the forced termination. Sadistic hatred for all creations. Rituals of pain, living you naked and wasted. Your body's covered with abrasions. Try wrapping around your neck, and bashing your face in it. I like the sound of bones breaking while I'm amputating. Penetrating the gaping lips of the menstruating words of the victims that I'm raping. The guts are nurtured with spark as I force the innards up your cunt. Medicated me for the corpse carving tormentor. Injected with the septic fuck juice of acquired placentas deep in the dying colon trenches. The pain is endless. Death is the righteous path of the senses. Leave you dismembered to burn the rotten flesh down to embers. When I spill a semen, then it's time to feast. Your sliced up pussy is a boar's fresh meat. Tenderize the meat till it's ready to eat.
And here I'm finishing this artwork, experimenting a little bit with the background. I made this so you can compare how my art style usually is to what I'm going to paint later. So far you can see that I just do a very graphic line art, flat colors. Sometimes I use little gradients so the piece doesn't look too flat, and shinies. Sometimes I do shade my pieces, but lately I feel like making quick flat color drawings since I'm happier like that. Hope this gives you an idea of how my art usually is. Colorful, line work, cartoony, so yeah.
I make a pink cushion from your muff and you supply butt. You're operated on with a scalpel as it's getting stuffed. When I spill a semen, then it's time to feast. Your sliced up pussy is a boar's fresh meat. Tenderize the meat till it's ready to eat.
And here I started to actually work on the quote-unquote realistic painting. This might have been the ugliest and also the coolest stage of an artwork that I have ever done, because I had this idea of straight up placing the colors with gradients using the laser tool around the canvas to kind of have an idea of where the proportions and shapes are, which I kind of failed to be honest, but it really helped me not being stuck in that first proportion phase and just start working on the painting. There was an intention of doing things properly, like right off of the bat, but I could have executed it better. I'm deeply embarrassed about about this stage of the painting because I look like an ugly faggot. If it wasn't me looking like a faggot, I would have loved how experimental this part was. I will repeat this kind of process when I paint next time too. I failed at this stage because I didn't take my time to measure the proportions properly. I don't like overthinking about proportions, and I like figuring them out by looking at the reference while I work on the artwork. I don't know how to measure and take my time to do this kind of things properly, since it's something that we learn in drawing classes on college. But since this is my own progress and it's for myself, I decided to just have fun with it, since I have this whole fucking year to suffer about measuring and structure and shit in college. I just wanted to be free. I had a few pauses between the painting sessions, so that's why you might see details and changes popping out of nowhere. Basically, all I'm doing from now on is just trying to add details as much as I can and trying to get the proportions right. Of course, I color picked the whole palette because I didn't want to lose my time matching the exact colors, since this is digital art and not a traditional painting. Also, I have been looking at this picture and the other selfies I took in this exact same spot of my house, and I just realized that those fucking lights are way too close to the mirror, which makes the picture's whole lighting look like shit. It also made the colors of my face look totally different from the colors of my hand. That was extremely weird to paint. From the whole painting, I can say now that the easiest part of it was my hair, because with a few strokes, I feel like you can already understand its hair. And the hardest part had to be my face, of course, because realistic proportions are so hard for me. Another thing I should note is that even if this was supposed to look as realistic as I was able to make it, I took the liberty of simplifying a bunch of details, like the background, as you can clearly see. I also didn't exactly copy some parts of the picture, like my shirt. To me, the fact that you can perceive it as a shirt is enough.
Are you ready? Step up to the cycle transfusion. My penis gets hard, it's a putrid mutant. Summoning the septic fuck gas diffusers. Bring the crack hole blast, so all last is loosened. Punk step up to the cycle transfusion. My penis gets hard, it's a putrid mutant. Summoning the septic fuck gas diffusers. Bring the crack hole blast, so all last is loosened.
So, final thoughts. Even though this is not 100% realistic because I wanted it to look painterly still, I'm very happy with the result. I never thought I would be actually able to reach this level, so I can finally say I'm drawing cartoons because I love them and not because I can draw realism. Not that you need an excuse for that, but since I'm basically studying this stuff in college, it felt kinda bad to not be able to master stuff like this, even if I don't really like it. There is a huge complaint I have though, that a lot of people don't seem to understand when I speak about this. Like, as I said before, I'm studying drawing. What I did in this video is painting, which, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely happy I can make this, but I am so mad about not being able to draw this. I'm mad that I can't draw realism at this moment in my life, but I know that it's probably because I haven't practiced enough. I do practice drawing faces, but I haven't tried to make them actually realistic, I think. That's something I'd like to work on in the future. Oh yeah, and what you're seeing now is me trying to actually draw myself as realistically as I can using only lines. I think I spent around 15 minutes working on this sketch, and honestly, I didn't like the result at all. It sucks. but I think it's kinda decent too, like it's a good try I guess. I definitely have to practice more if I wanna be able to draw realism only using lines. I feel like I should probably master other type of lines, maybe using other techniques or tools. There are many possibilities for this. But right now, I'm okay with my progress so far. I don't really wanna indulge too much into it since I actually like drawing cartoons. I would rather focus on my own personal art instead of trying to prove that I can draw other stuff.
Formless, compulsive, form of the septic wreck shit with the blood of vein girded erection. My third eye cries tears of schism into the heavens. Elven shit saw me from the 11th dimension.
Well, here's a quick final comparison of how usually my art style looks and how my attempt at realism turned out. Thank you so much for watching this video and I hope to see you in the next one, if I don't take too long making it.
The bondage, keep making shit till our bodies are rotten.